Understandable English podcast.
Learn English the easy way.
I can still hear the beeping. If I sit quietly and just close my eyes right now, the sound of that alarm is still bouncing around inside my head.
Are we talking about Thursday night? Because I want you to know that my favorite sweater still smells strongly like burnt garlic and regret.
Yes, we are definitely talking about Thursday night. Welcome back to the Understandable English podcast, where we learn together that I should probably never be allowed near a hot stove without adult supervision.
I honestly think we learned that a very long time ago. Thursday was just a very loud, very smoky reminder.
I just wanted to cook a nice meal. I wanted to cook like an actual responsible adult. Is that a crime?
It is not a crime to cook. It becomes a problem when you decide to prepare a complicated 6-course dinner on a random Thursday evening after a full day of work.
Listen, I was feeling incredibly inspired. I watched a video online during my lunch break. There was a guy with a very calm, relaxing voice, and he was chopping vegetables in this beautiful, perfectly clean kitchen. It looked so peaceful. It looked easy.
Video editing is a very dangerous thing. It makes you believe you have professional skills that you absolutely do not have. They cut out all the messy parts.
They really do. Because my experience was not peaceful at all. I left work and went straight to the grocery store. I did not want to buy anything pre-made. I decided right there in the parking lot that I was going to make everything completely from scratch.
That was your first major mistake. Ambition is the enemy of a peaceful evening.
I know that now. But at the time I was feeling powerful. I was standing in the vegetable aisle looking at fresh herbs. I didn't even know what I was buying. I just bought the greenest things I could find. I bought things with strange names. I bought expensive cheeses.
I saw the receipt on your kitchen counter. You spent a terrifying amount of money on fancy mushrooms.
I really did. And then I brought all these bags home, unpacked them, and realized I actually had to cook them. And I tried to follow a recipe. I really tried. But the recipe was just so annoying.
Recipes usually are. They demand terrible things like precise measurements, correct temperatures, and patience.
Exactly. It kept saying things like, simmer gently for 20 minutes. Who has 20 minutes to just watch water? So I decided to improvise. I threw some oil in a heavy pan, turned the heat all the way up to maximum, threw in the garlic, and just hoped for the best.
And that is exactly the moment when you managed to set off the fire alarm for the entire apartment building.
It was so loud. It was instantly chaos. I was jumping up and down, waving a wet kitchen towel at the ceiling to clear the smoke. The dog was barking uncontrollably. There was gray smoke everywhere. My eyes were watering. And right in the middle of this absolute panic, you walked through the front door.
I walked into what looked like an active disaster zone. There was white flour all over the floor. The air was thick with smoke. And you were standing in the middle of the kitchen holding a pan of completely black vegetables, looking completely terrified.
I was trying to create deep flavor. I read that roasting vegetables brings out the flavor.
You did not create flavor. You created pure carbon.
I was panicking. But honestly, you managed to save the day so quickly. You just calmly walked in, took the burning pan out of my hands, and opened all the windows. You looked like a disappointed mother taking a dangerous toy away from a child.
Someone had to take control of the situation. You were just staring at the smoke alarm while holding a wooden spoon.
I was in shock. But how did that chicken actually turn out in the end? I remember you washed it in the sink.
It actually turned out perfectly fine. I just had to wash the burnt black garlic off the skin, lower the oven temperature to a normal, safe level, and cook it slowly. It was edible.
It was more than edible. It was great. But honestly, while the alarm was screaming, I just wanted to order takeout. I really did. I had my phone in my hand, ready to press the button for pizza delivery.
I know you did. I saw the pizza app open on your screen, but we survived.
Barely. If you are listening to this right now and you have ever burned a meal so badly that you had to open all the doors and windows in the middle of winter, please tell us in the comments. I need to know I am not the only person who panics in the kitchen.
I promise you are not the only one. People do this all the time.
Do they? Because you always seem so calm. Have you ever had a massive kitchen disaster? Because I cannot imagine you setting anything on fire. You probably organize your spices in alphabetical orders.
I do organize my spices alphabetically, but yes, I have had a disaster. I don't usually talk about it, but it was incredibly embarrassing.
Wait, really? The Queen of Calm organization had a kitchen failure? Please, I need every single detail right now to make myself feel better.
It was a few years ago. I wanted to do something very special for my parents. My grandmother used to make this incredibly complicated lemon cake when I was a child. It was famous in our family. So I decided I was going to recreate it to impress everyone.
That sounds like a lot of pressure. Trying to recreate a childhood memory is dangerous.
It is. I spent 2 entire days preparing. I bought the best lemons. I watched videos. I was so careful. My kitchen was perfectly clean the entire time. The cake looked absolutely beautiful when it came out of the oven. It was golden, it smelled amazing, and I was so proud of myself.
Okay, this does not sound like a disaster yet. This sounds like a cooking show. What happened?
We all sat down at the dining table. I served everyone a big slice. My dad took the first bite. I watched his face, waiting for him to smile. But instead, his eyes got very wide, and he just stopped chewing. Total silence in the room.
Oh no, the silent reaction is the worst reaction. What did you do?
I took a bite of my own slice, and instantly, my mouth tasted like the ocean. It was horrible. I had completely confused the containers of sugar and salt. I put 2 full cups of pure salt into the cake instead of sugar.
2 cups of salt? Jessica, that is a biological weapon. That is not a cake.
It was terrible. It crunched when you chewed it. It was so salty it actually burned my tongue a little bit. We all just sat there looking at this beautiful poisonous cake.
That makes me feel so much better. What did you do next? Did you try to fix it?
You cannot fix 2 cups of salt, Bryan. We just laughed, threw the entire beautiful cake directly into the garbage, and ordered pizza.
See? That is why I love you. Even organized people fail. But why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we put so much pressure on trying to cook these fancy, complicated meals when it usually just causes stress?
I think it is because we associate complicated food with being a successful, capable adult. We see people online roasting perfect chickens or baking complicated breads, and we think, if I can do that, it means my life is organized and successful.
That is so true. I was definitely trying to prove to myself that I was a functional adult on Thursday. I thought, a real adult doesn't eat frozen food on a Thursday. A real adult makes fancy mushrooms.
But the truth is, the food that actually makes us feel good, the real comfort food, is usually the simplest thing in the world.
Exactly. When I am tired or sad or just had a long day, I don't want a complicated roasted chicken with expensive herbs. I want a grilled cheese sandwich. I want the simple food my mom used to make when I was sick.
Yes. Comfort food is never complicated. For me, it is just plain white rice with a little bit of butter and soy sauce. It takes exactly 15 minutes to make. It costs almost nothing, and it makes me feel perfectly safe and relaxed.
Rice and butter. That is so simple, but I completely understand the feeling. It is about nostalgia, not culinary skill. We eat to feel comfortable.
Exactly. And cooking for yourself should be comfortable. You shouldn't feel like you are competing in a television cooking show inside your own apartment.
Speaking of comfort, if you're listening, what is your ultimate comfort food? What is the one simple meal you eat when you just want to feel relaxed and happy? Write it down in the comments for us. I am genuinely curious what comfort food looks like around the world.
That is a great question. It is always interesting to see how different cultures define comfort.
Okay, before I get hungry talking about grilled cheese and try to turn on my stove again, we should probably review some of the English phrases we use today. I feel like my massive kitchen panic was actually very good for vocabulary.
Your pain is always very educational for our listeners.
I am glad my suffering has a purpose. For example, earlier I mentioned that I wanted to make my fancy dinner completely from scratch.
Right? When we say we make something from scratch, it means we make it entirely from basic, raw ingredients. You are not using a box mix or a frozen pre-made meal. If you make soup from scratch, you are cutting the vegetables and boiling the bones yourself, not just opening a metal can.
Exactly. Which is a beautiful idea, but I will never do it again on a weekday. Next time, I will just open a can. Or at the very least, I will actually follow a recipe instead of guessing.
That would be a wonderful change. To follow a recipe simply means to read the cooking instructions and do exactly what they tell you to do, step by step. You don't ignore the rules. You don't guess the temperature. You just obey the instructions.
I feel like you are looking directly into my soul right now.
I am just clearly explaining the phrase for the audience, Bryan.
Fine. But because I refused to follow the rules, I managed to completely set off the smoke alarm in my apartment.
You certainly did. To set off something means to trigger it or cause it to start working, usually by accident. You can set off a fire alarm with smoke, or you can set off a car alarm by bumping into it. It usually involves a very loud, sudden noise.
It was incredibly loud. My ears are still ringing. But luckily, right at that moment, you walked through the door and managed to completely save the day.
I did what I had to do. To save the day means to step into a bad situation and fix it, preventing a complete disaster. It's when everything is going wrong and someone arrives with a solution to make it better.
Like walking through smoke, grabbing a burning pan, and calmly opening a window while I am panicking. You are my kitchen hero. And because of you, the chicken actually turned out okay in the end.
It really did. When we talk about how something turned out, we are talking about the final result of a situation. We are describing how it ended. The cake turned out to be too salty. The dinner turned out to be delicious after all. It's the conclusion of the story.
It is a very useful phrase. My cooking usually turns out to be a disaster, which is exactly why next time I feel the sudden urge to cook a fancy meal, I think I will just safely order takeout instead.
That is a very wise decision. To order takeout means to call a restaurant or use an app, buy prepared food and bring it home to eat. It requires zero cooking, zero stress, and zero fire alarms.
And it completely saves my kitchen from destruction.
It is definitely the safest option for everyone living in your building.
I think that is a very fair point to end on today. Accept your limits, embrace simple food, and leave the fancy cooking to the professionals on the internet.
Or at least buy a fire extinguisher before you try again.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, everyone. Be kind to yourselves, be safe in your kitchens, and we will talk to you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Honestly, next time I try to make dinner from scratch without deciding to follow a recipe, I will probably just set off the alarm again, so maybe I should just call you to save the day and see how it will turn out before we inevitably give up and order takeout.
I am already downloading 3 new food delivery apps to my phone just in case.